Hey guys, Nishquick here. Welcome back to another episode of the EXP podcast, and I am very happy to be joined today by my buddy Jake from Dumb Xeno. Some of you guys who know Xenoblade content might have seen some of his videos. He's on a little bit of a hiatus, but he's made some amazing content. You guys should give him a watch. And throughout my time playing X and live streaming X, we were always talking about hey, is this canon? What's gonna happen? And it was always he was always telling me wait till the end, and I saw the end, and then I started thinking, and I sort of believed some stuff, and now after this trailer, I'm totally on board. So you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about that, Jake?
Yeah, I'm Jake, Dumb Xeno, made a couple videos about Xenoblade 3 and its lore, connecting it back to 1 and 2, and I've been on the X's canon train for quite a while now, and I'm glad that everybody is starting to see the light here.
Yeah, it was funny.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, so you were on our Conduit Cast episode with me and Kevin, and we were talking about Ionios moments and all the lore from that and all that, and that's where you kind of dropped oh yeah, after some stuff I'm really convinced the X is canon, and we were like, what? And me, because I hadn't gotten to the thick of it with X, so I was like, what? Right. I can't see it. But then we talked about it more, especially after I finished the game, and there's a lot to get into here, but yeah, I think we'll be blown away by the end of this new definitive edition. I'm very happy that everyone can experience this. But what were your thoughts on the trailer, just in general, that we got this week?
I thought it was good. I think they're really trying to show that it's this new content. It's not just going to be some story that's slapped onto the end, but I think they're really going to bring X to its original vision.
Yes,
that they wanted.
The only thing is, unfortunately, we won't have the original protagonist, but that's fine.
Right, yeah.
Oh, also, I forgot to mention this, but massive spoiler for all Xenoblade games, including Xenoblade X. I don't think we'll spoil Saga or Gears much in this, but for all the games, including especially X, spoilers. But yeah, no, but that reminded me to give that spoiler warning, because I was gonna say that original protagonist will most likely still be in the game, but he just won't be the protagonist of the game.
Right, yeah. Who was he? Do you remember who he was supposed to be in the context of the story? Was it?
So I don't know if he was going to be the main character that you play as, because so he is the lone hero. He is Elma's partner, the lone hero. But in the context of playing the game and the story that they've set up, it doesn't make sense that he would be a playable character, because he fights the ghosts and he's gone for the rest of the game. So it just doesn't make sense that he would be the protagonist. But I think in early concepts, he was planned to be the protagonist and Elma as the deuteragonist. If it's sort of like a Noah and Mio thing, I guess, which makes sense later. We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that we can get into about him, because he really is tying into the most core mysteries of X, and also its connection back to the other games in the series. So.
Oh yeah, there was a one shot in this trailer, which we'll talk about later, which just kind of blew my mind. I didn't even see it at the first time I watched the trailer, but overall the trailer, really good. I think this is kind of recency bias, but it might be one of my favorite Xenoblade trailers we've got, with the editing and the cuts and the music and the lines of dialogue they used and how they were showing off the new content. It was very well done, I think. Other ones are all the Xenoblade 3 trailers are good, specifically the release date trailer and the direct trailer were good. I really like the Xenoblade 2 reveal trailer as well, but this one, it's up there. Yeah.
I remember the Xenoblade 3 reveal trailer. That was cool. Just hearing the flute for the first time and being
I was like, this is, and then seeing Van Damme and Melia and Nia, I was like, what is going on with, and
everyone was like, how is Nia here?
Yeah. Also, another crazy Xenoblade trailer was the 15-second future redeem tease we got. Oh god, that was hilarious.
That one was really good. Just seeing Shulk and Rex back.
Yeah.
Seeing Shogun Rex against Zed, that was...
I just couldn't speak for a bit. It was insane. But I like that you mentioned earlier that, yeah, we don't know if this is just going to be extra content tacked on to the end of the game, or if it's going to be substantially, like, more content included into the base game as well. Because I don't... Like, I think we talked about this. I don't think you've played Persona 5 Royal, but I mentioned in my video about the trailer that I think they might do this like a Persona 5 Royal, like, definitive edition thing, because Persona 5 Vanilla was just like the base game, and then Persona 5 Royal was like the definitive edition where they added content, like substantial content at the end of the game as like an epilogue, but then dispersed in between the game there was like interactions with new characters, new scenarios, new events, things like that. So that's where I think that like Pilot, who's piloting the original Black Knight Skell, will factor in. Maybe Neil Nell will factor in there, maybe not in story details, because I was thinking like, oh, maybe they'll be in like you'll find them in Sylvalum and Oblivia when you're in there in the story, or they might just have affinity missions and stuff. So what do you think about that?
That pilot is very interesting, because splitting it shows that I guess they can't be going for the same story that they once planned, like exactly, if they're going to be giving this skull to this person. And now seems like the lone hero is going to be piloting
the Ares.
The Ares.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's... They're also a member of Blade.
Yes, they have the Blade like logo on their chest.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of people were wondering like, is that just a robot? That's why you don't see their face, because there's no face underneath, or is it actually someone underneath? I feel like it's someone underneath, but it's very...
Yeah,
it's very interesting that they didn't show their face though. So that's the voice actress seems to be Erica Lindbeck, who like it's very awesome that she's gonna be in Xenoblade for the first time, because she's in like so many other games. She was in she was Futaba in Persona 5. She was Celica in Fire Emblem. She was I just thought of another. Oh, she was Black Cat in Spider-Man as well. So she's been in a lot of video games. So I'm glad she's in Xenoblade, but I don't think she'll be like a human mim like any other person. I think she might be like a I don't think she'll be Clurian. She might be like some kind of other race within Mira or something.
So you don't think she'll be a mem? She'll have her real body or whatever?
That's tough, because the only non-human, non-mims who are part of Blade are Celica and Rock, right?
I think so.
Yeah, then she might actually be a human. I don't know. But that armor and that mask are very strange.
It's so unique. Like, and it almost, maybe it's just new. It almost doesn't feel like X a little bit.
It almost doesn't feel like it. Yeah, I get that, because a lot of people are saying it gives Nier vibes as well. I totally see that, but it feels a little out of place, but it's very telling that she has that mask on. Also, I'm very happy we finally get Neil Nell in this game, because she was teased in the art book. I wanted her back in this version, and we finally got her. So that's great. I mentioned this in my video, but those two skells that she controls, it gives me Alpha from Future Redeemed vibes. Or not even that, but just like Faces of Origin. Like, there's two of them, so I'm like, is there some animus thing going on here? I don't know.
It's definitely, it's like a recurring theme in the Xeno series to have, like, big mechs with a weird, like, robot-looking face on it, like this. Ion also has the same face in Xenoblade 2.
All of the face mech-on in Xenoblade 1.
Right. Yeah, of course. And something interesting also is they're Clurian. And Luxar also says at one point that the Trion barrier comes from the clue system. Mm-hmm. And that's some technology that Elma had given to Earth. So,
so a lot of people were talking about that in their videos, and I completely forgot about that. You're right.
Right. So it's just, what is the Clurian like connection to?
Do you think that
technology?
So Elma brought Skells, the Lifehold, and the Trion barrier. So my thing is like, do skells originate from Elma's world or from the clue? That's another thing I'm wondering now.
I think it must be a mix of both. I think maybe like the Clarions. I think all the technology kind of goes back to what technology is being developed in 3, like Xenoblade 3, and then all these other like future races, I guess, maybe over time rediscover this technology and use it, because it, like, skells at the end of the day, they're kind of like Ouroboros forms on a lower technological level.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely weird.
Yeah.
It's like,
I do want to get this out of the way first, because a lot of people, when they try to connect X to the other games, they always try to do it through the lens of the Klaus experiment, and that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's wrong. And I've always said, like, it is impossible to connect X through the Klaus experiment. The Klaus experiment happened, and the events of X are just completely different. I think if totally X is connected, it is far into the future, like far, far, far into the future.
I think putting Earthlife colonization project into the end of Future Redeemed didn't help as well, because
it kind of threw things off.
Right, because people were like, oh, they started to consider maybe X is canon, and then they think about it a little bit more. It's like, wait, there's no way this is canon. Like,
the most Takahashi thing that Takahashi can do is have it be set in the far-flung future, and have Xenoblade 4 tie into X1.
Yeah,
that would be insane.
I think it's just kind of insane that the whole joke about Xenoblade X being Xenoblade 10 is. It seems like it's true. I honestly think it's true.
The thing is, it would be so funny if that happens, but I don't think he's gonna draw out these stories for that long to get there. I think it'll make the connection sooner, but I think in the timeline it'll have that much of a gap, though.
For sure. I'm sure there's other stories he could find in between all this time that happens in
it's Perfect Works version 3, because we have the original Perfect Works, then we have Xenoblade's Perfect Works, and now we're gonna have like this next one. So yeah,
100%. Yeah,
I guess we can like go full on into talking about Lone Hero and his connections to everything, because that is going to be the meat of this talk. Like, Lone Hero connections to Xenoblade 3. What is he? Because I remember we had a talk sometime after I beat X, and you were talking to me about the ghosts and Elma and all that, and we sort of landed on a conclusion that Elma is sort of related to Origin. It is very interesting that we have zero, like, at the end of X, one of the biggest criticisms I had with the end is we don't know anything about Elma. We just know, oh, she's an alien, she came down to Earth and gave us the technology. That's all we know.
Right.
And that's already very sus. And, like, I was talking to one of my other friends about this. He was like, oh, they have the tandem skell, the original Ares, and I was like, if it's a tandem skell that they were using, when did they use this tandem skell? And they were like, oh, probably on Earth. They were doing like training on Earth, fighting off the aliens on Earth. And then when they were like in space, they were using it in space. And I was like, if Elma came to space, or it came to Earth in that skell, it's most likely the fact that she was not alone and the lone hero was with her. Because I was like, was the lone hero always on Earth? Is he a human like Lau and Doug and all these people? I'm under the assumption that he is also an alien, same race as Elma. They came down to Earth with all this tech. But my question to you is, why did they come, and for what purpose did they come?
I think the only answer to that is basically to save humanity, the failsafe, from being destroyed by both the ghosts and, well, I guess just the ghosts. They knew about the ghost threat. In Perfect Works, he showed me that actually they didn't know about the ganglion threat. until after.
Okay, yeah, the ganglion were kind of a surprise to them.
Yeah.
But Elma does know about Samar. Elma knows about Samar.
Yeah, she knows about the Samarian Federation and stuff. I think I'm questioning now. We had talked about maybe Elma being like kind of this Zed-like figure, where like Zed is kind of born of the wills of the unconscious collective in origin, and maybe Elma is kind of the same thing, where she's born of this unconscious collective's will to come and save humanity. But I'm questioning it now, only because I think maybe, I don't know if it makes sense that there would be two of those figures. I'm wondering, maybe is Elma and the lone hero, are they both like humans that were set aside from way in the past? It's really tough. It's like I'm wondering, are the humans set aside in the past come and save humanity?
I think they still somehow did come from space, and their origins are from space. But as for like them being created from origin, it is a long shot. But I think it most definitely is sort of possible. But here's my thing: a lot of these like divine roles within Xenoblade come in pairs. Like X, Y, and Z came in that Trinity 3. You have the Trinity processor, which is Ontos Logos Pneuma as well. But then you also have like the anima and animus concept. And you see that within Mobius as well. You have like X and Y, and then Z is sort of like in the middle because he's playing sort of an Ontos role, as well as, of course, Ontos Logos Pneuma. Ontos is in the middle. It was very interesting to me when I saw that concept art of the tandem skell, and I saw that it was the two of them in the skell. Very, very Ouroboros interlink like. It felt like they were trying to go for something there. I don't know if there's a third person or if there's a third party involved in all of this, but I'm not entirely sure about that. But
yeah, I wouldn't be sure. Yeah, I wouldn't think that. I think it's probably just the two of them, kind of the two halves of humanity, I guess. Anima and animus.
Yeah. Wait, what was he? Yeah. What do you think his role in the story is now? And like, where is he going to go from here? Because it looks like the main, I wouldn't say the main threat of this epilogue is the ghost, but the main threat we've seen right as of now seems to be the ghosts. Because Samar can be factored in later, or Samar can be teased at the very end of this to tie into an X sequel. But it seems like his goal is to fight against the ghosts. But what else do you think he will factor into with this?
Yeah, I think his information, like the information we'll get from him, is basically going to be the state of origin.
Yeah.
How the power structure of origin is set up in Mira.
Yeah.
That we really don't know how it is right now. Like, we know about the ghosts, but the ghosts seem to be this kind of like mindless entity. They don't seem to really have a...
They aren't sentient, it doesn't look like.
Right.
Like, I can't imagine any of those things talking.
No. And yeah, they just kind of seem to be on autopilot going across the galaxy. You might even call them an interplanetary invasion system from a certain game. But,
yeah. Wait. Actually, now that you say that, slight spoilers for Xenogears, actually. But now that you said that, the ghosts remind me of the what are they called? The Seraph Angels at the end. They really remind me of the Seraph Angels made from the nanomachines.
Yeah, they even mentioned in the art book they literally have halos like the Seraph Angels.
Wow.
So, I guess you could say the same about Xenoblade 2's
gargoyles, right?
Artifices, like all of them. Gargoyles, Siren, Ion, they all have halos. But I guess they're also meant to resemble the Seraph Angels. They're all kind of the same place in the Deus system. So
yeah, we can never escape Xenogears, and I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah. So something interesting about the lone hero is it looks like looks like he's in a mim. He's got white hair. Where's his real body, though?
Yeah.
Because it's not next to Elma.
It's not, right? We saw that at the end of the game. They're not going to change that much of the game to have him be there too. Hey, I was always here. No.
Right. I think that would be too big of a change too. So I guess the question is, where did he go from when the white whale was like entering Mira and he was like defending the white whale? From that point, what happened to him? Where he ended up to be apparently in some kind of Mobius like console position. That is going to be the big question. Like,
so that begs the question as well. Like, I think we were messaging about this yesterday. What is that new area that we were exploring that he has supposedly led them to? Because Elma's like, this skell has always been guiding us in this direction or something like that. Like all those floating islands.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, yeah, because you were saying like it might be the Oblivion Ring. On top of that, I feel like if we get a tease of Samar, will we eventually go to the Rose Garden and see what's like inside of that?
That would be. I'm not sure what the Rose Garden is. I haven't heard.
They might keep that for X2.
What? Can you explain actually what the information is about the Rose Garden?
I don't remember too much, but it just seems to be the mothership of the Samarians. If anyone else like remembers in the comments down below, they can clarify.
It looks like the Eldridge, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it's like a giant freaking ship, and like I feel like a lot of the mysteries of X, of Mira and all these stuff, it's tying back to Samar, and I feel like the end game villain, the end game threat is Samar, because like the Vita is also like a Samarian creation, so that makes me also like think like we'll get to Samar a little bit later, but also makes me think like, are Elma and the Lone Hero connected to Samar in any way? I'm not entirely sure, because Elma is more antagonistic towards Samar, because she understands that the Ganglion are relating to Samar in that way, and then she is not cool with that.
It's weird because Samarians, like, they showed their form. They're basically humans. I was just thinking maybe there's like a couple of factions of humans, and the Samarians were just one of them. Maybe Elma's from a different faction. I remember
really we were also talking about how like at the end of Future Redeem, the world is formed. These are new humans built to like just continue on the legacy of the past and all that. And our prediction was, and some other people like in my Discord server and other people have talked, that our prediction is that these people eventually will be known as the Samarians, and then they do all their stuff, and that's what like Xenoblade 4 will tie into. But yeah,
I guess maybe we should revisit what was the light at the end of Future Redeemed that was going to the planet.
I still think it's Cosmos, but do you have any other idea of who or what it could be?
I'm just wondering if it can be tied into X at all. You know, maybe it has something to do with the ghosts. Maybe like it could have something to do with that, but that seems like maybe it would be the ghosts might show up after they become Samar and kind of get their technology to a certain level where they can go to a different plane.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe Cosmos does seem like the best or most reasonable answer at this time.
Yeah, I think it is Cosmos, and then the events of X will eventually happen way later. But wait, let me see, what else do I have from the notes? Yeah, so do you want to talk about the Ares skell? Because that one shot we saw of the Ares skell, and it's very like a blink and you'll miss it. Like the first 2 times I saw the trailer, I didn't notice it until someone, like one of my mutuals on Blue Sky, like pointed it out to me. He was like, hey, I don't know if you saw this, but it's like very apparent that there's something up with that skell at the end. And I was like, what, really? And then I looked at it again, and it basically looks like an Agni and Ouroboros. And it looks way more like an Agni and Ouroboros in this version than it did in the original cutscene.
So I might actually disagree with you there.
Yeah.
So I think the model is actually the same as it is in the original cutscene. It's just that the original cutscene was like, there was just like a few frames, and it was at like a weird angle, and it's also low quality. It's like super compressed. I think it is. I could be wrong, but I think it is the same model, except for the cores on it.
The cores are very prominent in this, and it's. So I was talking to my friend about this. Are they Ouroboros cores or Mobius cores? Because it looks like a circle.
So I don't know that we can say that they're either. I think we can really only say that they're just cores. So Ouroboros cores in Xenoblade 3, they don't have a Ouroboros symbol like the Mobius ones do.
They just have like a sort of like a circle, because I saw on like
it's just like a circle basically. It's
yeah.
I think you could say it is kind of the same as this one, like that we see on the Ares, just in a bit of a different style, kind of I guess maybe in a more of an X style. What really interests me is like, what are these cores, like where do they come from? Because
what does it mean for that skell?
Right. Like, how was it made? Where did it, like, it had to come from somewhere.
And another thing is, this is the only tandem skell that we know of. This is the only dual skell that we know of in the whole game.
Yeah. Also, the ghosts. The ghosts also have these cores.
Yes, the ghosts do. Because a lot of people have been saying that these cores in Xenoblade 3 as well as X are made of antimatter. So that also ties back to antimatter, what's that? Black fog, Alpha's rifts, which we see in Future Connected and Future Redeemed and all that.
So I think there might actually be something different here going on. So in 3, of course, we had the two opposing worlds, that were like the matter was opposing to each other. They attracted each other. And this was the whole basis for like the Black Fog and how interlinks worked. They basically got energy from this opposing matter via the cores. And by using that, by these cores just existing, eventually they would end in an annihilation event.
Yeah.
Here, the Ares skell, assumedly, it doesn't stop existing after it's being done used. Like, it's not going to ever end in an annihilation event. So I think these cores aren't getting their power from antimatter. I think it's probably from a more stable, reliable source of power. I think there's some kind of Zohar equivalent.
That is another question I had in my notes. Like, where the heck is the Zohar / conduit? Because we're seeing these Ouroboros cores. We're seeing like this tandem skell stuff. That in itself ties into 3, and if Origin factors into this game, it's tying it into 3 as well. Which, like, we'll see once the game comes out. We'll see how spot on we are with that. But if we see a Zohar, if we see a conduit, that's like a definite, like, this is a Xeno game in itself. Because
I think, I'm not sure that it will actually be the conduit. I think, I think it has to be something I think it will be something else. Maybe I'm wrong. Honestly, I'm not sure.
So some sort of monolithic thing that can do crazy things.
Right. It just has to be some massive energy source, and we just really I don't think we really have any idea what that could be at this
Another
time.
thing is one of my other friends was saying that where does the Zohar go at the end of Xenoblade 2, or where does the conduit go? And many people are thinking could just go straight into X's world, and that could be the catalyst for the powering up of X's origin. It can be the catalyst for Elma and the lone hero being sent down to Earth, and all of these things happening.
That might make a lot of sense, because the conduit is a gateway to other worlds, right?
Yes.
At the end of 2, if it goes to another world, another dimension, okay, it's X's dimension. Why did the Cimmerians travel to that dimension? You know, could it be that they're tracking down Zohar? Is that why they appeared in this dimension?
Possibly.
I guess maybe it doesn't make too much sense. They say that the Cimmerians got there at like the dawn of that universe. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see much other way to explain how these fours are, like, how there can be so many of them and how they're all existing like without blowing themselves up, basically.
Yeah.
It must be something like Zohar.
Yeah, and these connections have always kind of been like in the back of so many people's heads after Future Redeemed, because of the original Ares concept art and what we saw at the end of Future Redeemed, how it looked exactly like that, and so many things like that. Right. But then on top of all of this, tying the things back to Origin, I remember like you kept saying like, oh, you'll understand like where X can fit in once you beat the game. And it was that Lifehold cutscene at the end of the game where Elma was like showing like the cat being like constructed with like the DNA and all that, and I was like, this all is very Origin-like. So that technology in itself, whoever Elma is and whoever that race of aliens is, they have very, if not exactly like Origin, it's very similar technology to Origin.
So I think it is actually just Origin technology, because that Ares came from, assumably Elma brought the Ares with her with the lone hero. That is just an Ouroboros with Origin that doesn't need to rely on like unreliable sources of energy like antimatter. I think the Lifehold is basically the best they could do in the time they were given.
Yeah.
So it's like a lower tech version of Origin. Like you have the same like biosynthesizers or whatever, right? They made the cat. Yeah. They have a pool of DNA. Okay, what is the equivalent in 3? The equivalent is those core crystals you see right next to Zen Theater. The core crystals are essentially just DNA.
Yeah. It's memories of the past, memories of humans, of souls and humans that they use to create life within Origin.
And 2, they literally show that like core crystals, they have DNA in them. Like they literally have DNA. So it's really a lot closer than we think. Yeah, and then that mainframe in the center of the Lifehold. I'm not sure if it really has that much to do with the Cloud Keep other than just looking similar, but of course there needs to be some kind of computer at the base of the whole system. So Origin had Ontos from the Trinity processor. Lifehold has whatever this mainframe is. So
yeah. Do you think here's something that just popped into my head. Do you think the purpose and the motives of the lone hero are going to tie back to the cliffhanger of why everyone's still alive? Because we'll obviously get that question answered in this definitive edition, but
I think I already know why everyone's still alive. I think. I think you probably know this too. It's because everyone is already they're within basically a version of Ioneos.
They are. Mira is very analogous to Ioneos in that way.
Right. So I think Lao wakes up as a mim. I don't think he wakes up in his real body, and I think that's because like the version of him that's stored in Origin is his mim version of himself. And at the end of the game, if you remember, Lao says something like, "I realized that these mims, they're not just like I can't remember the exact wording, but basically he said he realizes that even though we're not in our real bodies, we're still humans, and like that's why Origin is able to basically sustain these lives even though they're not in their original human bodies. So I think the lone hero, he's definitely gonna have something to do with that, because apparently his real body is also apparently missing. So
yeah. So in general, we'll figure out what is up with this planet. There is something about this planet, and we're gonna figure it out. And the crazy answer we might get is that it might be more similar to Ioneos than we thought.
Yeah, I think for sure it works like Ioneos, where when people die, they can be selectively revived based on the will of whoever's in control, which apparently it seems to be the lone hero.
Interesting. Yeah, and like we were also discussing that he could be like a Miran console. So
yeah.
if he's pulling the strings on this, that's very interesting. Do you think he's going to be like an antagonistic figure though?
No, he must be I think he'll be helping the party for sure. I mean, Elma says in the trailer, this skell has been leading us to where we needed to be, I think he says. I think that's going to be the role that he plays. And also, there was a clip in the trailer of someone like taking their helmet off and walking towards the party after they get to the new area. I think that's probably the lone hero.
That's him.
I think Origin, we've seen Origin in Xenoblade X already. It's the ghost ship that we see at the start of the game. So, and something interesting about this is that if you look closely, you have to go through the cutscene and look. It's actually only half of Origin.
Yes, you were telling me from the side view it looks a little weird.
Right, it's not a full sphere. So I guess maybe a theory about where Elma could have come from. Maybe potentially there's another half of Origin out there that maybe isn't taken over by the ghost.
That's genius. So the ghosts are one half, and Elma's race is another half.
Possibly. That could be one idea as to
that is our anima
where Elma came from. Yeah. I think I would view the ghost half as being like corrupted or somehow. Like I don't think the ghosts, I'm not sure that they're entirely the same as like Mobius, because it would require them to have kind of this sentient leader that's like...
Yes, because those Mobius like monsters we see in Origin at the end of Xenoblade 3, those look like the ghosts, but they don't act the same. They don't fulfill the same purpose, it seems.
No, they are similar, I guess, just in their appearance. I guess something notable is that they're lacking those cores that the ghosts have. Most of the ghosts have interlinked cores.
Yeah.
But I guess since they're such a scarce, they're a scarce resource in 3 as opposed to X, where apparently there's so much energy that they can just have these all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's one idea.
That is interesting. I like that.
Yeah. What else do we got here?
Do you have anything else in your notes?
I guess I wanted to say potentially more about Elma's Yeah, no, I guess I kind of already said that. I was going to talk about her potentially being a blade.
Like a Xenoblade 2 blade.
Right, like a Xenoblade 2 blade. She has this crystal on her forehead. It doesn't look like your typical core crystal, but I think it's reasonable to say that over time, as that, like, over however many years pass, it's possible that variation happens and the core crystals end up looking different.
Yeah,
it
but it
would
is
also
notable
explain
that, actually, I don't know, Jin is the only blade / flesh eater who I know whose core is on his forehead, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
Nia is a flesh eater, but hers is on her chest.
Right.
And then in Xenoblade 3, you have, like, cores, like, anywhere on their body, but that's mostly denoting that they are blade eaters instead of flesh eaters, I think.
Yeah, usually if they're a blade eater, it's on. I think it's usually on their chest, like Zeke and Minos.
Yeah.
That
I
somewhere
think
near
Minos is
there.
a flesh eater, isn't he?
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
Minos is a flesh eater, not a blade eater.
Rex is sort of like a blade eater. He's not like.
Yeah,
your
Rex
typical,
is like a unique blade eater because he's got the contact stuff going on there.
You
but
know who is a blade eater, but not confirmed to be a blade eater, but he has his core on his chest, is Tyon.
Yeah. So
you see it in some design. You see his
about
core on his
that.
chest, confirms he's a blade eater.
Right. I wonder, could it just be he's like a child of a human and a blade?
Possibly.
I was thinking that, like, humans and blades are probably able to reproduce after
Klaus's gift.
In Klaus's gift. So that could also be it. Because I guess I associate blade eaters with, they have some kind of damage. Maybe that's just Zeke. But they have he has like a scar around his core.
Yeah. You know who's another blade eater who has his core on his forehead is Amalthus.
That's true.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And we know Elma's partner was supposed to have a blue core on his chest as the Black Knight.
Oh,
well,
yes,
I'm just talking about the Black Knight.
But that is also before we kind of made the connection that they're the two, like, they're the same person. Because in the art book, it's not confirmed that they're the same person, which is also very crazy that, yeah, you have the lone hero, and you have the Ares skell in the art book, which is kind of like, they're the same. And then you have the Black Knight in the art book, and then you have the Black Knight skell. And the Black Knight skell in Definitive Edition is now, like, totally not associated with this Black Knight, who we don't even know who will be referred to as the Black Knight.
Right.
It's so weird.
It is really weird.
The way they're repurposing this stuff is very different, a way we didn't expect.
Yeah. I think it makes sense, though. Like, at the end of the day, like, that Black Knight skell, if the lone hero is meant to be, like, part of the game all along, like, he was supposed to be, like, you know, part of the main story,
he would have been
showing up everywhere. It wouldn't have made sense for him to have the Ares all the time. He would have had to have his own non-Ares skell, so that makes sense.
Yeah. But
I guess, what else?
You were talking about Elma and her being a blade. Do you have anything else to say about that, or?
I guess it would explain that she can live a very long period of time. It would explain that, you know, if she is kind of like one of the last two people from a bygone era, then she can kind of stand guard for the failsafe humanity on Earth.
Yeah.
for some unspecified long period of time.
But do you think she's aware of this?
That's a really tough question.
Yeah, because
I think she has to be, like, I think no matter what, she can't be unaware. Like, I can't think of a reason that she would be unaware, like, of her own purpose.
Yeah,
like, that makes sense.
What kind of makes me a little curious is her and the lone hero, supposedly based on our theory that we're concocting, brought down this skell. They brought down all this technology. They did all this stuff for humanity, but yet Elma still seems oblivious to what the Vita is. She still seems oblivious to some sort of things like that. She never mentions origin in that way. She never, like, when she sees the tainted, she still is somewhat ignorant of what they are and what they could be. So in that way, I'm like, does she know that she's created for this reason, or does the lone hero come to the understanding of this fact, and the major revelation is he's like, hey, this is our purpose, this is what we're meant to do? Because even he has a line of dialogue where he says something like, humanity needs me, people need me, or something like that.
Yeah, he does say that. Huh. Yeah, maybe that could be it. Somehow Elma's unaware of it. It's racking I'm trying to rack my brain to how Elma could not be aware.
Yeah. It's just like the events of the story are a little, like, weird when you think of, like, oh, Elma is this divine entity created by Origins, created by the collective unconscious, brought down to Earth to save Earth, but, like, does she know who she is? Because, like, you could chalk that up to being similar to, like, Pyra and Mithra, because they know in the back of their head that their father is Klaus, but they don't know their purpose as an Aegis until Klaus is like,
true.
This is what you were meant to do, this is why I created you, this is why you had to go through all this.
That's true. It could be kind of described as the difference between, like, the persona and then, like, the core itself.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, like, the Pneuma core is intelligent by itself, but Pyra and Mithra don't kind of possess the same omniscience that the core does.
Yeah, you
so
see
I guess
that
Elma could be similar in that way.
Yeah, you see that in all the Xeno games, like Xenogears, Contact, and Antitype have this major destiny, but they don't realize it until they experience certain things. And if Elma is our, like, resident Xenoblade in this game, then there's probably something relating to that. But yeah.
Do you want to talk about L?
Yes, yeah, I actually had that in my notes. This is all you, because you have a lot of L stuff that you wanna.
Yeah, I
also
had L in my notes. I think L is. I think he's undoubtedly a manifestation of the collective unconscious.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of like a weird beta version of Zed. Beta in the sense that, like, he was made before Zed, you know, meta aspect. But so aesthetically, he shares a lot of things with Zed. So he's got this kind of, like, theatrical way about him, doesn't he? And he's got horns on his head. Zed also has horns, and he is a native Miran.
He's native to...
And the only one of his kind.
He's native to Mira, which is a planet very similar and analogous to Ionios.
Right. And the only other native
Mobius
we know about
native to Ionios, because nothing is native to Ionios, but maybe Mobius itself.
Right. Right, yeah. The only other Miran natives are Nopon and those ancient races that fought each other. I guess, do you know about that? There was like like the Oblivia rings So me and Imperfect Works had a conversation about this, and I had marked this down a lot in my notes while I was going through the game, because there's this one Nopon in Oblivia that has dialogue about what the Oblivia rings are actually for. Yeah. And he says that they were basically used in a war against two native Miran people long, long ago.
Okay.
And I don't know, it sounds a bit like Ionios to me, just like a little bit. It might not actually be Ionios, like Kevis and Agnes.
Remains of Kevis Castle or something.
Right, it might be some future conflict that happens, but anyways, native Mirans, there's not many of them.
But L
and
is
it doesn't
one.
really. Right, but L is one, and he's the only one of his kind. He refers, by the way, he refers to himself thoroughly as we
and us.
And his full name, also he's got a one-letter name. Okay, what does that remind you of? It definitely doesn't. It reminds me of Mobius, obviously. All of them have one-letter names, and also his full name is El Saruf, which is like an anagram for Lucifer.
Yeah.
So, and there's something in the art book. Maybe I could send you a picture of this.
Mm-hmm.
But in the confidential section, there's some. I guess I'll put it up. There's like a devil-like figure, and then it's blacked out what the name of this figure is, but it says it's this figure's original form, and it's like a
so
horned
it's not
figure.
confirmed to be L's original form, but it's highly assumed that it would be.
I think that's probably L's original form.
But on that page, it doesn't specifically say that that's L's original form, right?
No, it's blacked. It's blacked out. It does say in the body of the text, though. It's like, it's suspicious that the words after the name that's blacked out says original form, and it also says this character resembles like the Xenoblade 1 Machina race, which is also interesting.
Interesting. Do you think we'll see that in the definitive edition? Do you think we'll get L lore?
I hope.
I hope so too. I feel like it might be too much to juggle in Clurian people, Lone Hero, Origin, Ouroboros, and then L as well. L very much could tie into Xenoblade 3 stuff with the collective unconscious and Mobius and all that, but they can tease it and maybe tie it into a sequel. But I want to see that. I want to see that.
Yeah. I think if we get a full like revelation on how Origin is working in Mira, I think they'll explain L in the process of that happening.
Yeah.
What else? So in Origin, in Mira, all the other races, like they speak to each other and their language is automatically translated, right? And Elma says at one point that basically their will is being converted into the native language of whoever they're talking to. And I think you could basically say that this is like the source code of Mira is doing this. So L, on the other hand, he's not doing this. He's not using this system.
He learns everything through the life hold.
Right. He went through the life hold data and learned some broken version of English. Even though if he had a native language, he could just speak and
it would be translated.
Perfectly translated.
Do you think he was like a blank slate before he found the life hold?
I think he's still kind of a blank slate. I'm not sure if you're saying like maybe he was given some form by the life hold.
In terms of maybe just mental consciousness, like I wonder what he was like before interacting with all that.
Yeah, I guess I think he was probably the same. He seems like he did exist prior to the life hold stuff, like in his in his current state, like as a curious, whatever guy, curious being. I guess what I'm most curious about is what brought him into being. Like, what if he's part of the collective unconscious? That usually requires either a super strong will of many people, or one person or a few people that all have a exceptional will. So what brought L, this seemingly not very ambitious guy of the collective unconscious into being? And I guess I want to draw one more comparison to him and Zed, is that Zed, of course, he's most famous for his reasoning because it amuses me. I think L could be described similarly in his motivation. So
many things in his quest are just for amusement, selling random things to people who won't find any use to it and all that. And just learning about different people in that way. It's very interesting that we can find parallels to the concept of Mobius in X, but it's completely reversed in that way. Like, Mobius was created through the collective unconscious of Origin, but maybe Elma and the Lone Hero were also created through the collective unconscious of Origin, but for a different purpose. Whereas people wanted to stay in the past as Mobius, they wanted, like, maybe people wanted to, like, save the present with, X. And then, similarly with, L, how we can see slight parallels to him and Zed, but they're still, like, complete opposites in that way.
Yeah. I wonder if the ghost, sorry, I'm going to change tracks a bit here, but I want to give an idea about the ghost and see what you think about it. But, you know, the ghosts, they're kind of just dead set on destroying humanity. At least it seems that way. And their name, the ghosts, it kind of implies maybe that they're the remnants of some people that were in control of Origin at one point.
Yeah.
Could it be that, like, the ghosts are some collective unconscious that has lost, it doesn't really have a leader, just doesn't really have any identity, and that for some reason wants to destroy humanity?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just kind of a random idea.
Yeah.
But
we'll see. We have next to no idea of what the ghosts are and what they want. And if I'm not mistaken, even the art book doesn't describe much about them either. So I'm curious curious to see more about them. Let me see in my notes if there's anything else that I had in particular. Oh, yeah, okay.
You gotta talk about the final area.
Yes, that's exactly what I saw on my notes. We're on the right track here. Yeah, final area. You had a lot to say about this regarding you talked about the Oblivia ring and what we saw in there, and then you said, like, this potentially could be, like, maybe not exactly like Alchemoth, but it might be our Mira version of Alchemoth, sort of.
Yeah. So there's some concept art that Imperfect Works had shared with me a while ago, and you know, it's
shout
some
out
cool
to him, by the way,
concept
awesome
art.
channel.
Yeah,
you guys should subscribe to him.
He makes some great videos, especially his most recent X video. That was a really great video. This concept art stood out to me after this trailer release. Basically, it shows the Oblivia rings as part of the weapon that it was once part of for those native Miran people. And it's this kind of Alchemoth, maybe you can put this up in the video.
Yes.
It's like this Alchemoth-like structure with the Oblivia rings under it, and then a monolith in the middle that has, like, brown and green colors. So obviously the Oblivia rings fall, but this centerpiece, it's nowhere to be found in the game. So I think it's probably still up there, and it's probably what we're seeing in the trailer. it's got the same color scheme, and we see the ghosts attacking the party right at the Oblivia rings.
Yes.
So the lone hero is fighting the ghosts, and Elma states that the lone hero was leading them to this new area. So I think we're probably going to be going to this castle, basically, that was from those native Mirran people all that time ago.
So do you think this is a new race of people that we'll learn about?
I think they'll probably be humans. I think...
what if there's Samar?
If they're native... Right, that's what I think they'll be. I'm wondering if... you just have to wonder what was going on, like, inside Origin's simulated world. You know, what goes on in Origin's simulated world through all that time after Ionia. Like, after the Endless Now, there's still a world happening inside of Origin. So, I think this is probably some version of Alchemoth. Maybe it's not the same one. Right, it's not the Alchemoth, but it awfully resembles Alchemoth a lot. Maybe it has some control over Origin, possibly. Maybe this will be the key to being able to escape Mira, escape the Endless Now, if you will.
That would be a nice goal for the end of the game.
Right.
And like the whole like cliffhanger of X is there's something about this planet, what's going on with this planet, and if we come to the conclusion once we figure it out, that would be a great bookend to the game. And then if they want to tease Samar and some other stuff, they can tie it into the rest of the game by teasing Origin, Samar, all that stuff.
Yeah. Also that shield that was shown, or like the barrier that was shown inside the trailer, that this new area is like kind of inside. It did remind me of High Entia aesthetic. Yeah, I will say.
Also, the floating islands, of course, they remind me of Tears of the Kingdom, most definitely. But they also give like Aerith Sea and Syra Hovering Reef vibes. Because Syra Hovering Reefs in Xenoblade 3 is most likely the remains of Aerith Sea of Xenoblade 1. But then, some of Aerith Sea is in Arithia/Cadencia, but the main, hovering reefs that you see in Aerith Sea in Xenoblade 1 are Syra Hovering Reefs in Xenoblade 3. And these floating islands just give me that kind of vibe.
Yeah, they definitely give off the same kind of vibe. Like, this whole thing is very reminiscent of Tevis Castle, Alchemoth. I think it's gotta be related somehow. Yeah. Nopon? Do you want to talk about Nopon a little bit?
I have no idea about the Nopon, except for the fact that, a lot of Tatsu's silly jokes and references to Xenoblade 1 initially could be just chalked up as references to Xenoblade 1, but who knows? With all this stuff we've been talking about, who knows? Because if what we believe that X is far into the future, past all of these games, how does Tatsu know about Homs and Frontier Village? That's...
I think that could be explained just by the passing down of information. Yeah. But obviously it's a stretch, but
Origin has the memories of everything and everyone.
Right, and there's relics of, and I guess it makes sense that the stories of the creators of Origin would be passed down over that long period of time. I guess some small evidence of this is there's actually a collectible inside of Xenoblade X that is the two titans fighting each other. So clearly there's still remnants of the story of Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2.
Wait, I guess, what is that collectible?
More Xenoblade 1. It's called like Titan statue or something like that.
Gosh.
But it is two Titans locked in battle.
Wow. I didn't know
like
about
a little
that.
figurine.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the collectibles got there's a lot of cool little lore tidbits.
I thought what you were talking about was the Ouroboros core thing in the Collectopedia as well. That's another thing.
That I'm interested to see if there's any new design with that, because
it's a good opportunity to redesign it.
Because it's possible that Grossium core is going to undergo redesign. Maybe it's going to start looking more like an interlink core, like it's going to look, the Ares has those cores on them.
Yeah.
In the original, in X, like I said, it's hard to see that opening cutscene perfectly, but it looks like those cores are just Grossium cores. Like, they look like every other Grossium core, like the ones on the Granada GG armor.
Mm-hmm. So
they have
that's
those
on
cores.
The Ares you're talking about.
Right.
Okay.
That's on the Ares. And so I'm pretty sure those same cores are shared on the Granada GG armor. It might not happen, because they might want to save those for the Ares itself and just the ghosts. But it would definitely be very interesting if we saw those Ouroboros looking cores show up elsewhere, even just in armor,
Yeah. Yeah. What else about the Nopon though? Because
they're native Mirans. I guess that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
They're native Mirans, and they know about Xenoblade 1 stuff.
Does Tatsu have anything to say about Telethia?
I don't know that, actually. I wouldn't be able to tell you.
It is very interesting, though, that Telethia is referred to as the Endbringer, which many other, like, entities...
Sword of the End.
Sword of the End,
yeah.
Zed the Harbinger of the End. Malos refers to himself as the Endbringer. We'll get to Malos and Logos in a little bit as well, but yeah.
Right, and Melia's weapon
World
is
Ender
referred
staff.
to as the World Ender. Yeah. And just the existence of Telethia. I mean, what is a Telethia? It's a cell of the Bionis. So either X is not canon, or it's connected to Xenoblade 1.
Yeah.
Right. I guess something about the Telethia that kind of gives it its status as, maybe a divine creature within Mira, is that it was able to so easily take out the Tainted.
Yeah.
Imperfect Works mentioned this in his video, but the Tainted, and I agree with him on this for sure, is that it seems like they're taken over by like some will that's happening inside of Origin.
They
like
look to be
Beast,
like
pretty much.
normal like monsters in Mira, like those jaguar like monsters. They look like that, but they're taken over by something else. Yeah.
Yeah, they are just like reskinned creatures, just like fog beasts are.
They're like fog beasts, yeah, exactly.
So, and I think everyone comes to the same. Everyone who's seen fog beasts looks at the Tainted and they're like, those look similar.
Yeah.
So some divine will being able to be defeated by Telethia, I think, is significant in showing that Telethia still have some status within Origin's hierarchy, I guess.
I think we got everything in my notes. Telethia, Nopon. One last thing I want to talk about, which wasn't in my notes, I guess we can close off with this, is Logos.
Yeah.
What is up with Logos?
Oh my gosh, how did I forget?
Yeah,
Logos?
we got through this whole discussion without talking about Logos, and my thing with Logos is it's so funny. Like, the first trailer we got for XDE, everyone's like, oh my god, Malos, Logos, all that, and even he was part of a lot of our discussion once I beat the game as well. And now, once we know that the lone hero is probably gonna be this guy, and like the Black Knight might be this guy, Logos talk has kind of like been on the downturn, but I still think there is something relating to Logos. Logos is coming back. Malos is coming back. I feel it. Maybe not in this, but it's always that Vita and the Great One. Like, Imperfect Works was saying that the Great One could be Dmitry Yuriev, which makes total sense. I think that makes more sense than anything, because he could be like the Samarian god. And I don't know much about Xenosaga, I haven't played it yet, but it makes sense for someone like him to be like a Samarian god, and the Ganglion look up to him in that way. But that whole like color scheme of the Vita and the purple hue and all that, it just gave me way too much Malos vibes. And then like the Logos Artificial Emancipator, and then that also means beyond the Logos Artificial Destiny Emancipator is basically a Monado. Beyond it just basically means beyond Malos's Monado. Beyond the Sword of the End. It could even mean that, because End Sword of the End is Malos in that Monado form as well.
Right.
That's looking at way too literally, but like, I don't know.
I think you could just refer to the Logos core itself as the Artificial Destiny Emancipator, but of course, I mean, the definition of Monado is somewhat like, you can say a lot of things are
bends to your. You can manipulate ether to bend to your will once you have control over it.
Right. So what I think is we have to look at the name Beyond Logos Artificial Destiny Emancipator and say, okay, so why is it called Beyond the Logos Artificial Destiny Emancipator? It implies that it was there at one point, and now it's not. So what was there prior to Blade's existence that is not there when Blade was started? It's the Ares, I think. The Ares disappears in that battle against the ghosts when they're being swallowed by Origin. And now we have to make an organization called Beyond the Logos Artificial Destiny Emancipator. And additionally, the Ares in Xenoblade 3 was largely based around, or it was kind of supported by Numa. So I think it would make sense that both like in an aesthetic sense, where Numa was kind of the basis for the Ares in 3, Logos might be the basis of the Ares in Xenoblade X. I guess, and one more thing, the Ares wields something that looks an awful lot like the Sword of Origin or Sword of the End.
Yeah,
like,
in this trailer, right?
In both the original cutscenes and in this trailer.
I need to go back and look at that.
Definitely take a look at it. It basically looks like, it's like a Tri-Blade type thing, but it's basically the Sword of Origin with two like splitting blades on it.
Okay.
And you can go back to the original X cutscene and see that there as well. Something that's not in the new cutscene that was in the old cutscene that also made me think that the Ares might be Logos, and it's kind of part of this changed design. So in Xenoblade 2, you know when Numa and Logos, or Malos and Mithra, are controlling their sirens, their core like gives off this like really bright sparkle of light, I guess you could say, and like kind of there's like a rainbow circle lens flare type thing going on. So in the X cutscene of the Ares, like the original game, where the lone hero is fighting against the ghost, if you look closely, you can see the same like sparkle of light that the Aegises have on the center core of the Ares. Now that's not there anymore in the definitive edition, but I think that's only because they've shifted design.
Yeah.
Like, the design is not the same anymore,
Yeah.
where maybe they were going to go for a more direct design of maybe having the Logos core being visible in the center or something like that. Whereas now it's those Origin-like cores, I guess.
Yeah. That is an interesting observation. Send me videos of when Numa and Logos do that kind of thing, because
I will.
I want to look into that more. But that is very interesting that you we're noticing a lot of these connections. I remember we also noticed a connection between how the Numa core being green, of course, like you see it in Future Redeemed and Xenoblade 3 with Noah using his Ouroboros and his Sword of the End. It's got the green hue,
right.
But that green hue was all the way back in Xenogears with the Anima Relics too. Like when I was playing, like I remember you mentioned that to me before I even started Xenogears, and then I played Xenogears and I was like, Anima Relics. Yeah.
You can also, you see it on the Anima Relics. You can also see it on Weltall Id. Actually, he has like a green
Id, like his back, like his turbines are all green.
Yeah. It really does go all the way back.
Yeah. I'll close out with saying this, but like, speaking of Xenogears, I think I told you this as I was playing and after I beat it, but I can't look at the series the same way ever again after playing Xenogears. Like, my whole
Xenogears really gives
the
basis. Like, it gives the Deus system. It really sets that out, and
it's just everything relating back to Perfect Works. And since this video will go up on my channel, I'll give you like some people a little tease. Like, I have this series in my mind of videos tying Xenoblade back to Perfect Works and how it all ties back to what Takahashi is established in Perfect Works, and he did it in such a genius way. But yeah. Any other last final thoughts you have about X Definitive Edition and what we could see? I
think I'm just happy that it panned out this way, that X is finally, no one's going to be able to say, oh, that was just some silly thing that they were doing, like, they're just throwing that out.
I just hope they double down on a lot of this stuff, because this is our insane crackpot theory. This whole like hour we've been rambling about these theories. These are our own crackpot theories. It's not necessarily confirmed to like all happen, but if it does happen, oh my god, if it all happens, if it all comes together, it'll be glorious to see.
Definitely. I think Takahashi knows what he's doing. I think I know that. I know. So.
Yeah, Takahashi is playing 4D chess with us, and I think when we see that Xenoblade X is a far-flung sequel post Xenoblade 4, we're all gonna have our jaws on the floor. But this is just our theories about everything that happens, and let us know what you think in the comments below. Jake, you want to like talk about your channel and tease some of the work you've been doing, or like anything that you might have coming up or anything like that?
Yeah, so I've been doing X research for quite a while now, and just going through the game, documenting pretty much everything that I see, all the little dialogues, everything like that. I guess I'm going to have to make some new plans now.
So, yeah, I've been doing X research for quite a while now. Just been going through the game, documenting like every little thing I could find. I've got a huge document that I'm ready to go through and analyze, but I think now that we're getting so much new content in Definitive Edition, I'm going to have to see what that comes of that and go from there. But yeah, X is on the menu. So.
Yeah, I remember you had to readjust your plans when Ionios Moments came out, and now you have to readjust your plans again with XDE.
Right. Yeah, so I guess we'll see. We'll see what the future brings.
And check out Dumb Xeno's channel down below. He has some like older videos he's done like post Future Redeemed about like Alpha's role in Future Redeemed, the role of the Sword of the End, and how Shulk and Rex factor in as avatars and the whole Ionios and Origin system. Very, very interesting stuff. Awesome dude. And also check out the episode we did on the Conduit cast with Jake. That was like one of the most awesome like Xenoblade discussions I've ever had. Me, Jake, and Kevin were just talking about everything Xenoblade 3, and we landed to some awesome conclusions as well, so that was a lot of fun. I'll have that link down below. But yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
Great conversation.
Yeah, let us know what you think of this theory, or these theories of ours down in the comments below. And yeah, give this video a like, subscribe for more content just like this. This is Nishquick and Dumb Xeno signing off. Have a great day. Go play some great games today, like a Xenoblade game on Nintendo Switch. We'll see you in the next one later.
Peace.
Later. Hey guys, this is Nishquick. Thank you so much for watching that video. And if you enjoyed it, check out these two videos on the left and maybe subscribe if you haven't on your way out. And big shout out to all my channel members whose names you can see on the screen right now. I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.